Hello and welcome, I'm Stormo and this is Guild Wars 2. First thing to note here is I'm not actually playing this is the beta for Heart of Thorns, the expansion that's coming out in a while now. I think it's coming out later this year. I don't know if there's been an exact date yet, but yeah, and as I said, I'm not playing this. This is my housemate, who is a very dedicated Guild Wars 2 player. She's kindly recorded some footage for me. And what you're seeing here is the creation of a new character who is a Revenant. The Revenant is the new class being added in the Heart of Thorns expansion, and it adds a few interesting and different features, which I will talk about after the cutscene that will be coming up after this loading screen, and I will just let the cutscene run so you can watch it without anything getting in your way. So hopefully that'll start very shortly. Guild Wars 2 tends to have very long loading screens. So this is a very long one. I should probably edited this slightly better, but oh well, here we go with the cutscene. Enjoy.
Proved even more powerful than we imagined. The jungle itself set against us. Many are dead. Still others are missing. And our fleet is utterly broken. Please, we need your help.
Stay sharp, people.
Okay, and we're back.
It's up to us
so,
to pick up the pieces.
A couple of things to talk about just quickly aside from the new Revenant class. What you'll be seeing in this video is a very short section of the expansion storyline. So you won't be seeing any of the PvP or other additions. You probably won't be seeing any of the new class specializations that are being added to the game as part of the expansion. That's not in this. This is basically to show off the Revenant and to show off some of the early part of the story. And if you're of course familiar with Guild Wars cutscenes, you'll already know that they're very, very nice to look at. They don't use fully 3D animated models or anything like that for the cutscenes, but they use that really nice sort of arty painted style, and everything looks really nice. And Guild Wars 2 has always been a very nice looking game. Like, sort of, I don't want to say it's not as good looking as, say, Elder Scrolls Online, but it's certainly visually quite an impressive game compared to a lot of other MMOs out there. You can see here these are the skills that the Revenant has, and these are primary skills. The thing to know with the Revenant is that unlike most Guild Wars 2 characters, their skill bar isn't based on the weapon they use. They have two stances effectively, a sort of a demon form and a dwarven king form, which you can see on the toolbar there, and those forms determine which of their first 5 skills they have access to. This is their trait tree. So this will probably change a bit between now and the time the game comes out, but you can get a good idea of what's going to be happening with traits here. And yeah, as I said before, I'm not playing this. This is my housemate playing. She's a very good Guild Wars player. Been playing since the game came out, and to give you an idea, she once received a Christmas card from ArenaNet. So yeah, she plays a lot. I'll just be quiet for this next cutscene. I don't think there's a lot of talking in it, but yeah.
Is it possible that Mordremoth took down the entire fleet?
Hey, my
mother was on one of those ships.
Don't worry. I didn't plan this attack or put your mother at the front of it.
Okay, so there's a little bit of talking up ahead as well, which I won't talk over either. You might notice some blurring on the screen. That's because I've just blurred out the chat window, just so that my housemate doesn't, none of her friends or anything like that, get identified in a video. So that's all that is for this video. But yeah, as I was saying, the way the skills work is really interesting. This is the equipment. This is obviously beta equipment for the Revenant class. So while you can probably get all this stuff in the game, obviously you won't be able to right now. I am a Guild Wars 2 player, but I haven't played in a very long time, and my housemate does play more than I do, so you'll have to forgive me if I miss out on really critical facts, but I felt it was worth making a video and showing it off to people, showing off the beta. It's a good opportunity for everyone to get a good look at it. Anyway, so the Revenant class, aside from the stance switching, you'll notice that down the bottom there they have the energy bar, which sits at 50%. I didn't quite get a good handle on the way the mechanics operate for that energy bar, but it's based on skill usage primarily. This is the map. Obviously this is incomplete, and you see this seems to take place somewhere in more northern of where regular Guild Wars 2 takes place, up past the Shiver Peak Mountains, and a new set of level 80 areas there. So obviously this is a very small section of the new areas that will be opening up. The Heart of Maguma, I believe, is the name of it. And Guild Wars 1 players and Guild Wars 2 players will recognise that phrase because it is referenced in both games. In fact, apparently there are some callbacks to the original Guild Wars in this expansion, which will be good for someone like me who was very much a Guild Wars 1 player back in the day. Anyway, I'm talking over a cutscene again, so...
And my soldiers no longer trust me.
And you're surprised? Scarlet, Aaron, and now this. Mordremoth always does the most damage when Sylvari are involved.
We need to strengthen the defenses around here. Our priority has to be salvaging weapon parts from the crash site.
What about our comrades in the cavern? The Pact does not abandon its own.
Look around, sir. There is no more pact, and the prisoners you want to save are probably already dead.
Think it through, soldier. We need greater numbers, or any salvage party we send will disappear like the others.
This isn't helping. Just tell us where Destiny's Edge is, please.
Larenthir, stand by. I need to think this through.
Okay, so a couple of quick things here.
We need supplies and salvage to build up this position.
If you're not familiar with Guild Wars 2, it's worth pointing out that Guild Wars 2 has a lot of voice acting in it, and it's actually quite good most of the time. And as someone who plays a lot of Elder Scrolls Online, that can be a bit jarring because Elder Scrolls Online has what I like to think of as standard issue Elder Scrolls voice acting. And Guild Wars 2 probably has some of the best voice acting in the business. If you've played through the original game story or the sequel story, you'll be familiar with that. Pardon me. So yeah, so at this point there's a decision point. Because of the way the beta works, you can only make one decision. You don't get a choice about the two factions you can choose here. So that's, I wouldn't say it's a bit unfortunate, but it's just the way they've done the beta because obviously they only want to show a small portion of the game at this point, obviously to test whatever it is they're testing. So anyway, so we move on from here and we get to go up. This is like a crashed airship or something like that. So I should talk a little bit about something else that I've forgotten. That's right, I was talking about the Revenant, wasn't I? Yes. Okay, so the Revenant has the one side, the skill bars, you switch stances. The other side, of course, are just regular Revenant skills. The class seems to remind me a little bit of Death Knights in World of Warcraft, where they tend to be big, heavy armor-wearing classes that can do a massive amount of DPS, more so than, say, the other heavy armor classes in World of Warcraft. But also they have a more tanky role too, and that seems to be what they're going for with the Revenant here. But obviously with a different focus, much more Guild Wars 2 lore focused. I cut that bit out because my housemate died there and she was really embarrassed about it, so that's why I've cut that out. And yeah, so you get to see the Revenant in combat here, and you can see how all the skills work and operate. If you're a Guild Wars 2 player, this will be quite useful to you if you're planning to play as the Revenant later on. So I'll just let this run for a little bit while this combat happens. Okay, so you get a good idea of what the Revenant can do in that area, and you're probably getting an okay idea of the basics of the story for this expansion. And you'll get to see, yeah, you can see the weapon skills there, but a Revenant doesn't necessarily use those weapon skills. They tend to use two-handed weapons, as you can see here. I'm not sure if they're intended to be able to use other types of weapons yet, or maybe that's just not a thing that's available in this beta. If they're anything like Death Note's World of Warcraft, it would be possible in theory for them to at least dual wield as well. But there's no indication of that at this point. I would imagine from a DPS point of view that might work better. Faster hitting weapons rather than big slow ones. I'm not entirely sure if they're intended to tank with a two-hander either. Even though it looks as though one of their stances seems to be more a tank-focused stance and one seems to be more DPS-focused stance. So, but it'll be interesting to see how that plays out once the game comes out and as the beta develops. This particular beta event actually was only a window of about 2 hours this afternoon, my time. And so we had to get the video and everything arranged and organised, and that's why I've sort of put this out fairly quickly. And in a lot of cases, I mostly just want to show off what was available during that beta. It's not long to play through it all, and this video will cover the entire story as we go through. So I'm going to try and not talk too much more over the top of this video, but I will point out different bits and pieces as we go along. You can already see this sort of brick road attack that the Revenant has. I didn't catch the name of it before when I was looking at the video. But it's basically an area of effect strip attack that has that particular effect. But you can see the Guild Wars 2 sort of combat morning, combat tell areas happening in full effect here. It's a game that's really good at indicating that. By the way, like we talk about Elder Scrolls Online, and WildStar was another game that's done this as well. And those games made a very big point of having these kind of area of effect tells that you could easily see where the area boundaries were and all that kind of stuff. And Guild Wars 2 actually does that as well, and perhaps not as creatively as say WildStar does, but it's still effective and a really useful combat mechanic that's become much more popular in modern MMOs. I should point out too that this whole thing's done solo. My housemate didn't didn't have a party for this or anything like that. I don't think the beta at this point is intended to be played through in a group. Obviously if they want to test group stuff, they'll do that later. At the moment I feel this is mostly about testing the Revenant. Anyway, this is a big boss battle. And so you get to see the Revenant in full flight combat-wise here. My housemate is, I would imagine, pretty decent at this. So you get to see everything that happens. You see all the tells and all that kind of stuff around there. So I'm just going to let this run for a while I take a drink.
No escape, Commander. You will all serve the jungle.
So just while this is going on a bit, I just thought I'd talk about a couple of the other features that are coming in the expansion. I mentioned before about new class specializations, which will essentially work like the subclasses in the original Guild Wars, how you could basically have two professions in the original game. So, for example, you could be an elementalist and a monk. This is the final boss for this storyline coming up too, so we're not far from the end of this video at this point. So yeah, and so the professions work not entirely unlike how professions work in Guild Wars 1, where you have two of them, and one was a primary and one was a secondary profession. So, example, you could have like an elementalist with a monk secondary or something like that, and that's kind of what's happening here. And it will basically give a bit more choice with each of the classes and a bit more variety and diversity in what they can do. Because Guild Wars 2 sort of didn't quite get to that part where it was doing the more diverse class arrangement that, say, WildStar has and Elder Scrolls Online both have, and some newer MMOs have. It tried to a bit, but it wasn't as successful perhaps as some of those newer games are in that, particularly ESO, which is very good at it. So, anyway, we're on a loading screen at the moment. The other feature that the game is adding apparently is guild halls, which if you play Final Fantasy XIV you'll be familiar with. Here, there we go, that's the mastery point as well, which I was going to talk about. There's a new mastery system. Basically you get points that unlock skills that can be used in the expansion areas. It's probably not that dissimilar to the Draenor perk system in Warlords of Draenor, the last World of Warcraft expansion as well. Yeah. So this is a sort of multiplayer area. You can see everyone's taking this particular boss. If you know Guild Wars 2, you know these sort of world boss type things that they have. My housemate was deeply amused by some of the names that people had chosen for their characters here. So, yeah. And, once this is done, that's pretty much the end of the video. This world boss that they're fighting together. And obviously, my housemate's coming to this just as it was being fought, just as they're about to knock over the very last part of it. I think that's what's happening. I did watch this video all the way through before I recorded it, obviously, but yeah, my memory doesn't stretch back that far. But yeah, overall, I've just put this together just quickly to mostly to show what was available today during the beta event, but more importantly, just have a bit of a talk about what's coming up in the expansion for Guild Wars 2. It's a game that's it came out in 2012, so it's gone 3 years without any major expansion. But that said, of course, ArenaNet haven't exactly been idle with the game. They release new story content very regularly, and the game has grown and developed quite dramatically since it first launched. And it's probably their commitment to this living world idea that the game has is probably one of the biggest commitments to creating an MMO with an ongoing storyline that anyone has managed to successfully do. So I'm pretty impressed by what they've achieved here, and I really hope that that continues with Heart of Thorns and future expansions for the game. And if they're only going to do one expansion every 3 years, but they're going to fill it with so much story content like they have done, then I don't have a problem with that, to be perfectly honest. Anyway, we're just coming up to the very end of this video, and I will see you all next time.